Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, I thought it would be a good time to do a video on a review of another freeze-dried meal from Moutain House. And this one, as you can see, is the Italian style pepper steak. And it looks pretty good inside so far, so take a look at what it looks like inside. I've already got the water boiling. This one takes 1 3/4 cups of water. So I've got the water boiling, and then I thought it'd be nice to go through the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto with you guys. I just realized that a couple of days ago, on the 5th of May, was Karl Marx's birthday. So in celebration of his birthday, I thought that I would go over the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, which is a book that was written by Karl Marx. And if you all don't know who Karl Marx is, just look him up. He's all over the internet. He is world-renowned communist philosopher that wrote the Communist Manifesto. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pour the meal into my thermos bowl. And look at this. This is a piece of meat. That's pretty big, and there's several pieces in there. That's surprising. And then give me a second, let me go grab a water. Alright, here I come. And like I said, I already have the water boiling, so I'm just going to pour it in there. You can probably hear it sizzling. I'm going to go ahead and stir it around. It actually looks really good. You guys will be able to see what it looks like as soon as it's done rehydrating. It smells really good too. You can smell the peppers. Okay. I'm going to close it up. Let me tighten it up because this pot here, this thermos pot, it works with pressure. So the warmer the food is in there, or the hotter the water is in there, the more negative pressure it creates. So that's what helps it cook and stay hot longer as well. So like I said, that's going to take about 7-8 minutes to rehydrate and be ready for, to eat. So I thought that in recognition of Karl Marx's birthday, I would go ahead and just read a real quick excerpt from his book, which are the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. And what I mean by the 10 planks is, or what is meant by the 10 planks are like the 10 most important things that you need to do to a country in order to turn it into a communist nation. All right? And I'm going to go ahead and read this. I'll go ahead and leave this link where I'm reading from. That way you guys can go take a look at it if you would like. But it starts by the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, 1848, by Karl Heinrich Marx. And I'm going to go ahead and read a quick excerpt before I start with 1 through 10. And it says, although Marx advocated the use of many means, especially including violent revolution, to bring about socialist dictatorship, he suggested 10 political goals for developed countries such as the United States. How far has the United States, traditionally the bastion of freedom, free markets, and private property, gone down the Marxist road to fulfill these socialist aims? You be the judge. The following are Marx's 10 planks from his Communist Manifesto. And the number 1 is abolition of private property in land and application of all rents of land to public purpose. And it says, the courts have interpreted the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution to give the government far more eminent domain powers than was originally intended under the rubric of eminent domain and various zoning regulations, land use regulations by the Bureau of Land Management, Property, Taxes, and Environmental excuses. Private property rights have become very diluted, and private property in lands, vehicles, and other forms are seized almost every day in this country under the forfeiture provisions of the RICO status and the so-called war on drugs. So pretty much abolition of the private property pretty much means, I think I went over one of the things that this encompasses the other day, and it was where the police or government officials, they can just confiscate your property without due process. So if you get pulled over and you have money in your vehicle and the police see that money and they determine that that money is of a significant amount, they can confiscate that money from you and tell you that they're confiscating it because that money is probably, not that it is, but it could probably be directed to illegal use in one way or another. So that is private property. That's the abolition of private property. And you can determine whether you think that we've gone down that road or not. Number 2 is a heavy, progressive, or graduated income tax. Okay, and it reads here, the 16th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and various state income taxes established this major Marxist coup in the United States. Many years ago. So this is saying that this has already happened. This has already happened in the United States. These taxes continue to drain the lifeblood out of the American economy and greatly reduce the accumulation of desperately needed capital for future growth, business starts, job creation, and salary increases. And to add to that, that you never get to own anything. You never get to own your own land. If you pass it down to your children, they have to pay taxes on it and then continue to pay taxes on it for the rest of their lives if they keep that land. Okay, number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. And another Marxist attack on private property rights is in the form of the federal and state taxes, the federal and state estate taxes, and other inheritance taxes, which have abolished or at least greatly diluted the right of private property owners to determine the disposition and distribution of their assets upon their death. Instead, government bureaucrats get their greedy hands involved. And that's true. So I bought this property that I'm on with money that I have already paid taxes on. I purchased all of the material that I used to build the house on my property with monies that I had already paid taxes on. And now for the remainder of the time that I live here on this land, I have to pay taxes every year to the county or the city. And then one day, if I leave this property with the house to one of my children, they're going to have to pay an inheritance tax. And don't quote me on this. I do believe that inheritance tax is on properties that are worth 500 or that are valued at 500,000 or more. I could be wrong, and I know that this property is not valued at that, but who knows in the next 30 or 40 years, you know, when I pass away, if it'll be valued at that or not, or if the laws would have changed or been changed to make it a lesser amount. So that was number 3. Number 4, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. We call it government seizures, tax liens, forfeiture. Executive Order 11490, which gives private land to the Department of Urban Development, the imprisonment of terrorists and those who speak out or write against the government, or the IRS, confiscation of property without due process. So confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. So pretty much if you get indicted of a crime, let's say you're a drug dealer or whatever, or let's just say that they put you in jail wrongfully, the government can take away your property, even if you haven't had due process. Because believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we live in an era where you can be put in jail without due process. Number 5, centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank, which state capital and an exclusive monopoly. So pretty much what this is saying is that the Federal Reserve System owns us. You know, that's what it's saying, but I'll read it. The Federal Reserve System, created by the Federal Reserve Act of Congress in 1913, is indeed such a national bank, and it politically manipulates interest rates and holds a monopoly on legal counterfeiting in the United States. That's exactly what Marx wanted, okay, when he wrote that number 5 down. Centralization of means of communication and transportation in the hands of the state. And it says, in the U.S., communication and transportation are controlled and regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. Okay, and the Department of Transportation and Interstate Commerce Commission. There is also the Federal Postal Monopoly, Amtrak, Conrail, outright socialist, government-owned enterprises. Instead of a free market private enterprise in these important industries, these fields in America are semi-centralized through the government's regulatory industrial complex. So pretty much what this one is saying is that centralize the means of communication and transportation. So what it's saying is that the government has so many regulations on the FCC and the Department of Transportation that the government pretty much runs those. Okay? They pretty much run those departments. It runs the FCC and the Department of Transportation because they have so many regulations laid on those departments. So if the government starts putting a lot of regulations, let's say on the internet, they can pass enough laws or regulations to where pretty much the government would be running, the providers that provide internet service for us. And it may not seem like it's monopolized because there are different companies, but with all the regulations that they can put on them, they could actually be running those departments or those businesses by proxy, by regulation. Number 7, extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state, the bringing into cultivation of wastelands and the improvement of the soil, generally in accordance with a common plan. While the U.S. does not have vast collective farms, which failed so miserably in the Soviet Union, we nevertheless do have a significant degree of government involvement in agriculture in the form of price support subsidies and acreage allotments and land use controls. So that's another one of those where the government may not be running these, farms, but all of the regulations and subsidies that they put out and give out pretty much control what the farmers are doing. So if I'm the government and I tell a farmer, hey, this year you need to produce X number of tons of less corn, or else we're going to take away your subsidy. What's the farmer going to do? He's going to produce less corn so that he can keep his subsidy and stay profitable. Equal obligation of all to work, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. We call it the Social Security Administration and the Department of Labor. The national debt and inflation caused by the communal bank has caused the need for a two-income family. Women in the workplace since the 1920s, the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, assorted socialist unions, affirmative action, the Federal Public Works Program, and of course Executive Order 1100 or 11,000. And I almost forgot, the Equal Rights Amendments means that women should do all work that men do, including the military, and since passage of it would make women subject to the draft. So what this is saying is that obligation to work, equal obligation to work. So right now we live in such a state of despair, I think, in this country that almost every household in this country has a two-person working family. Because you have to work. You have no choice. You either work or you're going to go without. Okay? And most households have to have two families to work. And even if you only had one person working, someone always has to be working because you have all of these taxes that you have to pay. And if you don't pay your property tax, especially your property tax, you're going to have your home taken away that you paid for with taxed money. So everyone has to work. That's what it says, equal obligation of all to work. Number 9, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries. Gradual gradual abolition of the distinct between town and country by more equal distribution of the population over the country. We call it Planning Reorganization Act of 1949, zoning, and super corporate farms, as well as Executive Order 11647, 11731, and Public Law 89-136. And to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, I really don't know exactly what that one means. I'm going to have to look it up. If one of you guys can get on the comment and give a pretty clear explanation of what number 9 is, that would be awesome. But I'll have to look into this one and see exactly what it is that it means. And the last but not least, number 10, free education for all children in government schools. Abolition of children's factory labor in its present form. Combination of education with industrial production, etc., etc. People are being taxed to support what we call public schools, which train the young to work for the communal debt system. We also call it the Department of Education, the NEA, and outcome-based education. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. How you can take a nation, making it from a free nation and a nation with liberties to making it into a nation of communism. And having said that, that worked out perfect because it's time for us to take a look at our Mountain House meal. Let's see what this looks like. Oh yeah, there was definitely some pressure in there. Oh, look at that. It's nice and steamy. Take a look and see. It could have probably used about another 2 minutes in there, but I want to take it out nonetheless because it looks pretty good and it smells really good. Now I've never had this, but I've heard that this is pretty good. And I'm going to take it all out so you can all see how much it makes. Let's see. Sorry if you hear all that scratching. Now that's all of it right there. Now that looks pretty good, actually. Let me know what you all think about that. It looks pretty good. And let me take a look. I don't think I told you all how many calories this has. So this here has 2 servings, and each serving has 240 calories. So you're looking at about 480 calories right there. Okay, it's got a total of 16 grams of protein per serving. So that's 32 grams of protein in that pack. It doesn't have that much fat. It's only got about 7 grams of fat for the entire container. It's got a lot of sodium. It's got 640 milligrams of sodium per serving. So just shy of 1,300 milligrams of sodium. However, ladies and gentlemen, remember that if you're going to be eating this during an SHTF, that you're probably going to be physically engaged doing something. Either pulling security, either building barriers, either chopping woods to get wood, you know, for the winter, hauling water, all those kinds of things you're probably going to end up doing. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste. I'm going to taste just the rice without the meat first. See what it tastes like. It's really good. And you know what? I said it could have probably used another minute or 2 in there. It's perfect. The rice is not crunchy or anything. And the texture is really good. You can taste different layers of flavor in there. So it's actually a pretty darn good meal if you were eating this in SHTF. I'm going to take another bite here with some meat. That's really good. I have to say that this one has a lot of meat. I mean, and the meat is good. The texture is really good on the meat. And it tastes just like you're eating regular meat. So this is really good, but that's what it looks like right there. Let's see. Yeah. One more bite. Not bad. 1 out of 10. I have to say that I have to be honest, the chicken and rice I had the other day, I really liked that one. Even though it didn't have as much meat in it as this one does, I like the flavor better in that one than I did in this one. If I remember right, I think I gave that one a 9. No, it wasn't chicken and rice. It was teriyaki chicken and rice. So I really like that. But I do have a preference over Chinese food. I really like Chinese food. I like it more than Mexican food or Spanish food. I really like Chinese food. So That's probably why, but this is very good. And the amount of meat they put in this is excellent. That's why it's got so many grams of protein in there. So I'm going to have to say, since flavor-wise, I liked the Chinese fried rice better than this. And the Chinese fried rice could have used more meat though. This one right here, the flavor is really good. And it's got a lot of meat. So I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10, just like I gave the Chinese fried rice. Because I think they're just as good as each other, just in different ways. And ladies and gentlemen, remember that these freeze-dried foods... I'm sorry, I have to step away for a second. These freeze-dried foods, they can come in really handy in a pinch. So, let's say, for example... Let's just say, for example, tonight was date night. And you forgot that your daughter was spending the night at her friend's house. And it was up to you to cook dinner. And you forgot all about it. All you have to do is put a few chicken wings up in that thing. Put a couple of those in there. Throw away all the wrappers. Throw everything away that's got anything to do with having it been store-bought. And you're good to go. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? That's about what I'm getting ready to do. So I'm going to leave you with, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Reach one, teach one, and repeat. If everyone did this, the world would be a better place. Many blessings to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I forgot. No, the world will be a better place, and it will. We're going to make it a better place. Many blessings to all of you and to your families. I hope you had a good Monday today, usually the roughest day of the week, except for Friday nights for those of you that like to go out and party. And I hope you have a good remainder of the week. I'll probably put out a couple more videos this week because I did take the week off. So, like I said again, many blessings to all of you. Have a great week. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.